Thank you.
Thank you both for coming. And one of my favorite parts about moderating conversations like this is usually I get to have the first question. And so, most importantly, I think one of the things that strikes me about this story is, to a certain extent, how untold it is. Yeah. And so, what was it like being part of this process and getting, particularly because this is family, and getting to tell this story and have this be something that now we get to be aware of? What was the process like? How did this movie come to be, and what was it like being a part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to the process first of it. Growing up, he's my grandpa, so I knew the story. If you guys didn't catch that, today is October 20th, so 72 years ago today, that was the incident that broke my grandpa's jaw. So It's a little surreal to have this be on the anniversary of the day. But I will say, I think right now in our country, people aren't talking as much about history. And it's so wild because all of the themes that you saw have happened recently, right? A brutal racist attack caught in HD on camera. And I think it's interesting that my grandpa was like 21 at the time. So if you think you're just a college football player and then all of a sudden you're a civil rights activist and you're on the front lines and people are asking you questions. And I just think at 21, most of us were, just trying to find our way and get through life. So for him to have to step into that has been pretty incredible to see and learn from.
Yeah, for me, the way that this program or this project came to me, my father was actually an exceptional college basketball player, and he got inducted into the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame. And at the ceremony, I met a gentleman named Doug Elgin, who at the time was the commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference. And, and he was just kind of like making short talk with me. What do you do? And I said, well, I produce documentaries. And he said, oh, I got one for you, which everyone says that.
Yes.
And it usually goes nowhere. And he said, there's this guy named Johnny Bright that played football, and we really have been trying to figure out a way to capture his story. Well, I had not heard of Mr. Bright, and I said, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. So I emailed Doug like the following week after getting back from the ceremony and never heard from him. And so then, literally about 2.5 years later, Doug emails me out of the blue saying, hey, do you still do documentaries? And I said, yeah, man, I do. Well, he pitched me 2 projects, one that didn't really go anywhere, and the other one was this project. But Doug's timing was kind of bad because we started filming late 2020 into 2021. So there's a lot of, we were filming during COVID, which is very, very difficult. But yeah, like you said, I wasn't aware of Mr. Bright. I consider myself somewhat of a sports scholar. I've done a ton of sports documentaries. So the more I heard about the story, the more I was honored to be a part of bringing the story to life. And in meeting Bree and Deanie and Candace and the family, yeah, it's been one of those special honors in my career.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for lifting them up and making this something that we can have more awareness about. Would somebody in the group here like to ask a question?
I have to tell you, my friend drugged me here because I hate football for this very reason. Because I worked in emergency room and I don't see touchdowns. I see torn meniscus and concussions. Right. And the aggressiveness and the mean-spiritedness of it seems like it's gotten actually worse instead of better. So I really appreciate this. I love the story. I think it's an important story to keep telling, and so that we don't forget. And then my other question is a medical question, because I'm curious that probably should have been a simple operation. And what was the complication that ended up taking his life medically?
Yeah, so he died of a heart attack.
I wondered.
Yes,
yeah.
And you could see in the pictures, he gained weight, he enjoyed good food, and unfortunately coincided with the anesthesia and being under. So.
Oh, okay, I wondered about that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Glory be, because you guys did an amazing job, and I'm glad that you get to have him as an ancestor.
Thank you. And I'll just add to that, they said, and I think you guys probably heard him say, they announced on the news that he was having knee surgery. Like, I've had surgeries before, but like, they announced on the news, like, oh,
Yeah, it
Johnny
doesn't make the
Bright's-
news.
Yeah, so it's interesting because he was my grandpa, and obviously it's a big deal in our family, but to have them announce on the news and people hear about him was pretty cool to hear about.
Yeah, and the best part really was how he went on to influence so many lives.
Right.
Yeah, congratulations.
There are a couple of people up there.
Such a wonderful documentary. I'm a member of a founding member of the African and African American Historical Society and Museum here in Fort Wayne. We have a room that's dedicated to Mr. Bright, and knowing that this was being shown, of course, I had to come and represent my group and let you know we're very interested in having it shown again so that we can get it more widely recognized. It's a tremendous story, and I think it's very inspirational, and just you did a great job. I thank you for it. And is there a way that we might be able to show it? Have you shown it somewhere else? That's what I was wanting to know too.
Yes, absolutely. We'll hook you up. We'll make sure that it's seen.
Thank you.
Secondly, yeah, we've had some really good success with it, distribution-wise. It premiered on CBS Sports Network late last year, December of last year. It's being distributed to PBS affiliates across the country as we speak. It's made it into 13 film festivals. We were very excited about Hobnobben. And and then we just recently finalized a distribution deal to get into public libraries across the country. So, you know, our goal was not only to tell the story, but to make sure it reaches the biggest audience possible. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
And then we'll go back. I was supposed to be here with my sisters, but like I'm actually Milton Bates' grandson.
Oh,
So I've literally heard a lot of stories about Uncle Johnny and
what up, cuz?
what up, right? But right, you know what I mean? So I've heard a lot of stories. I actually, you know, when my mom passed, we were actually living on Hayden, right, in the house. So we heard stories, but to actually see it, I would love to know where I can find it so I can show my sisters who couldn't get off work, you know, and my aunts and all that. So
Yeah, we got you.
all right, yeah.
And I also add a history note while they're getting the microphone around. I actually just got last month a Heisman ballot off a gentleman I met online, and he's a collector of sports memorabilia. And I had heard about the ballots, but this one got rescued from the basement of a building in downtown New York where the ceremony was held. And so it has my grandpa written as their first place vote, and then second place is the guy who ended up winning from Princeton. So it's cool to have that. So from a history perspective, you'll appreciate that I got to hunt one down. It's nice.
Thank you so much for inviting me to come to this, great historical moment. I can recall when I came to Fort Wayne in 1972. I transferred from a college in Ohio to Indiana University, and I remember sitting at some of the tables as we were discussing, and many of the young men that I talked to were athletes, and they often talked about Johnny Bright, but I didn't get the perspective of who he was. And that didn't come until my mother-in-law had a Thanksgiving dinner, and she was very, very close friends to Lois. And during that time, I began to talk to her about Johnny Bright, who was her son. And I'm just amazed today, after watching this film, that we don't do something tremendous in Fort Wayne in his honor. He had to go outside of this community to continue to do what he's doing, and yet we don't have anything other than in the Historical Society a room in his honor. And this film today has glorified his character, his integrity to the whole world before many of the athletes that we see playing in the game today. So we need to do something to honor him in our city in a big way. And I hope this film festival is the beginning to magnify the work that he has done, because he is truly a great humanitarian.
Wow, that's great. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to second what this gentleman just said. I grew up here in Fort Wayne and a huge sports nut. And in the background, lurking around, has always been the memory of Johnny Bright. And I think we should have a statue somewhere of Johnny Bright. But my question has always been, you know, he left Fort Wayne and apparently never came back. And I just wonder, are there any relatives in Fort Wayne of Johnny Bright still today?
Yeah, his granddaughter. My mother is sitting behind you. She's his eldest daughter. And he did not move back here, but they came down, my mom will tell you, in an RV every summer for 3 weeks. He came back and got kids' shoes. He paid off people's grocery tabs. He saw all of his family. I have a cousin who's in a wheelchair with cerebral palsy, and he came down and fit the wheelchair. He had a tab at the dry cleaners to get her pad cleaned for her that she sat in. Like, so he did come back and he did help out in the community. And he actually, I found out recently, helped over 30 athletes from the Fort Wayne community go to college. Wow. So they started writing him letters and he was telling about the process, right? Because recruiting is a lot and he'd been through it before. So he did contribute to the city, but yes, he didn't come back as a full-time resident. He was busy being Canada's first black principal, so he add a little.
Thank you both for being a testimony to this memory. You know, one of the, you heard me say before that we're a festival that likes to vaunt storytelling and stories that open discussions, and be embodying that discussion for us and being willing to be here and be in the film and bring this story to us. It's touching because, it's an opportunity for us to connect with something that is clearly a meaningful disconnection right now. That, we are disconnected from this memory in ways that clearly the audience is already telling us we need to be reconnected with. And your willingness to help us with that and your kindness and generosity to take the time to do that for us is much appreciated. Thank you for being that and allowing us this moment and being here with us to have this kind of conversation. We deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.